that there's a mosquito and I know how to catch mosquitoes. There we go. Hey guys, my name is Olive Fox. Welcome to my channel, and today we break a promise. I promised you guys, not really promised, but I told you guys that I would be making 2 more videos on Arcane. One based on episode 2 to 8, and then a separate video on the last episode. But after watching the entire series, I realized there isn't much to talk about. Listen to me before you attack me. There are no plot holes. There are no annoying people. Everything about the show is so perfect. What do I sit here and talk about? Compliment it for 2 videos? I would do that happily, but who would watch that? So I just decided to make 1 more video and share my thoughts, and let's begin. So starting off with Vi and her being in still water, my god, that just captured my attention. Because at first, after watching the trailers and everything, I thought that Vi, after she was, taken by the police officer, I thought the police officer was a good person and he was going to take her to the upper city, to Piltover, and she was going to continue her life there. And later, when she finds Powder's gonna be like, okay, you were in the upper city, what do you know about what I've been going through all these years? And that's why Powder would be so mad at her. But instead, she was in still water. And that's just so amazing, because this is the one thing I really liked about the series, that it was really unpredictable. All these things that I was predicting about the series, what I imagined after watching the trailers, it was completely the exact opposite. And that's exactly what a series and a movie should be. I don't need to know the entire story from the trailer. Keep me guessing. I want to be surprised when I'm watching the actual thing. And that's exactly what happened. I remember that I was like binging. Like, I am not a binge person. No, absolutely not. I'm the sort of person that watches a movie in 4 sittings. So if I am binging a show, that show is actually good. And I remember I was like hooked. So the whole thing about her being in still water, and after she's out, she immediately went to Powder again. It was so unpredictable when Powder finds out that Vi is alive and she lights up the blue beacon, whatever. I was like, oh my god, Vi is on the run. She's not gonna go to Powder, and Powder's gonna lose that one spark of hope she has. And Vi showed up. I think that is so amazing. So on the other hand, we had Powder, who is our second main character. Powder's insanity was just the right amount. Even though I was not a fan of her, I still have to appreciate how greatly every single character was written. So Powder's insanity, oh my god, I think the only thing that I didn't understand about her was the fact that she got close to Silco, but why did Silco started caring about her so much? That's the one thing that did not make sense to me, because obviously Powder was young and she would have really appreciated yet another fatherly figure. I mean, it was her 3rd father. And it makes sense that she was really attached to him, and she even injected the shimmer into his eye every other day or maybe. But the thing that caught my attention was obviously Silco. Why was Silco so attached to Powder? They didn't really have anything in common, because it wasn't as if Powder was abandoned by her family. There's a mosquito, and I know how to catch mosquitoes. There we go. Okay, so Silco's attachment with Powder did not make sense. He had all these people working for him. Why was Powder so important? That's something that did not make sense. So, Powder was not abandoned by Vanda or her sister, because both Silco and Powder believed that Vi was dead. So she wasn't abandoned. She was a hopeless kid. There were 10 other hopeless kids out there. So why was she important to Silco? That's something that should have been explained. So that point aside, Powder's insanity, it was just the right amount. So Powder was never, completely insane. She had all these voices in her head telling her all sorts of things, but she never let those voices make her decisions 100%. So even when she saw, that Vi was there with what they're called? She was there with Caitlyn. So even though she saw that, what are they called? You guys know what Caitlyn was, the officer or whatnot. Even when Powder saw her with the officer, with Caitlyn, she saw her with Caitlyn, and she still let Vi explain herself. She still cared about Vi, and later on in the series, Vi too cared about Powder just as much. So, you know, when Wyatt and Caitlyn were on the bridge to the upper city, Wyatt stopped, and yet she, you know, stopped to give Caitlyn a hug and everything. And Powder was watching with a telescope. She was still like, you know, it's just a goodbye hug. It's just a goodbye hug. And I think that was such an important element, because she cannot just forget Wyatt. She cannot just forget Wanda and her actual parents and Milo and everything. Even if, you know, they are constantly in her head as voices, she needs to remember that. And that's something that I think was so amazing, that they kept that element to Powder and both Wyatt, that Wyatt had this like desire to get revenge, this desire to save the Undercity, and yet she cared about Powder. She didn't just think, okay, Powder is now working with Silka, okay, we're not sisters anymore. That did not happen, and I think that was such an amazing thing. Also, the thing about Powder changing her name to Jinx was sort of cliche, but it was okay. I mean, because they didn't really call her Jinx all the time, it's mostly Powder, and it's like, Powder? What are these names? So, Powder and Wyatt, and then there was Caitlyn. I think Caitlyn's character was, a tad bit unbelievable. She did become an officer, she was working, and her parents were making sure that she was appointed safe spots to look over, and I think that was such a parently thing to do, and if they were not doing that, I would have been like, how is that even possible? So that was amazing. But Caitlyn going to the Undercity all by herself, and that was a bit unbelievable. Like, how did no one stop her? And when she did go there and she found Wyatt and she was following Wyatt, it did not make sense. How did she summon the courage to do that? And how was she even able to keep up with Wyatt? All those paths and tracks that Wyatt was taking to get around the Undercity, how was she even able to follow her? Like, I know that I don't have a bone in my body that can keep up with Wyatt, and yet Caitlyn was able to do that, so good for you. And the one thing that I didn't understand about Caitlyn was how she was so inspired about saving the Undercity. What truly, sparked her determination? What sparked this aim inside of her? I think with, Powder and Wyatt and Jayce, we all receive these like sort of backstories on why they are so angry, why they are so determined. I think we also needed something for Caitlyn. Was it Jayce's determination that was inspiring her? I think we needed a little backstory for Caitlyn as well. I mean, she's the daughter of the counselor. Why is she supporting the Undercity so much? That's something that I wanted explained. It does not make sense. Anyway, Jayce. I think Jayce's backstory was the most inspiring one. It makes the most amount of sense. Because Jayce was like in the middle of the snow with his mother, they were dying, and this man comes in, and in a snap, everything changed. It's not just the fact that their health's improved or they found like a sledge to take them through the snow. Everything changed. Everything around him, the snow just vanished and all this greenery came around. I think to witness that amount of magic and to not be fascinated about it, to not spend your entire life trying to do something as great as that, it would not make sense. So Jayce's whole purpose, his aim, it makes so much sense. But I think it would have been really great, really greatly appreciated if we had been told how he was able to create those gem bombs in the first place. How did he do that? How did he make them stable? We do know that Victor came in and helped him, but exactly what did they do? I think we needed more of that, because it wasn't a movie where you could just like jump through things and be like, okay, that happened. Explain things to me. You had 9 episodes. So Jayce, started using the magic, and he was called into the council, and he stood up and he was like, I was trying to control magic, and he was banished. He tried to commit suicide. Victor came in, saved him, and all these things obviously told us that the bond that Jayce and Victor share is really strong. But the one thing about their personalities, the way their personalities were written and how their personalities remained constant, just blows my mind. I don't recall the last time I came across a series so well written. I mean, Jayce's character was that he is really passionate about magic, and he really wants to save the Undercity for Victor. Victor is his main encouragement here, his main point. So throughout the series, we were shown that he's like making magic, and he is a person who is greatly influenced by people. I mean, he just saw Victor's illness. Victor's his great friend, and he wants to save the entire Undercity for Victor. So he's a person who is greatly influenced by the people around him. So there is Mel, there's Heimeldinger, there are his parents, and all throughout the series, he kept all these things with him. He kept showing that he greatly appreciates Victor. He kept showing that he greatly appreciates Mel. He kept showing how much respect and love he had for his parents, the Hammer company they had, and how much he respected and looked up to Heimeldinger. I think all those things, despite like he was letting those people make decisions for him, he did become a counselor because of them. He did like not announce his weapon at the speech because of Heimeldinger, and yet every now and again he did stand up for the things he originally stood for. So I think when he was like, okay, I think Heimeldinger should retire now, or when he helped Y attack the Shimmer Factory, I think all those were like really great steps, and he always acted to an extent. As soon as the Shimmer Factory, like they attacked it and everything, he pulled back. Because he's not that brave, he's not that reckless. I think, and that's so amazing because you can get carried away. I mean, he could have just continued, they could have just taken over the Undercity that night, but they didn't. And I think that to not get carried away with a character is truly amazing, because I get carried away quite easily. Like, I remember one time in one of my books, I was like shooting a person, like that person was shot like 3 times in like 2 chapters. And ultimately, I was like, Ellen, I don't think a person who has 3 bullets can really survive. So like, take it down a notch. They might be really powerful and really determined and everything. Like, they might have a really strong will, but like, let's take a step back. So for the writers to not get carried away and to keep the pace of Jayce and every other character on the right track is just mind-blowing. It's so fascinating. And I think I'm so looking forward to all the following seasons because the writing is so good. Speaking of Jayce, Victor comes in, and I think Victor's illness plays a great role in why they are so determined to use the magic to cure illness and to save the Undercity. It also adds so much to Victor's personality, because I think if his illness was like just based on his lungs, you know, all the breath and whatever he was inhaling in the Undercity, whatever caused it, I'm kind of like slipping here. I think the limp in his leg also plays a great role. So I was like thinking in the beginning of the series, I was like, why is Jayce getting so much of the credit? Like, he has been offered to become a counselor, whereas Victor gets nothing. And later when he was giving that speech and Jayce said that we are partners, we're going to do this together. And Victor was like, no, I'm fine. I think that added so much to the story, because if Victor had just been, a person who's like shy, who has like stage fright, that would not have really made sense to a lot of people. But his illness gives us this like constant thing where like, okay, he is not confident enough. And that was just amazing. So Victor is really, really passionate about the work just as much as Jayce is, and he was constantly working despite the bad health. And he was such an inspiring person. I think to be that ill and to constantly work it's always fascinating. I know people like that in real life, and I don't even tell them to stop working, because if you tell Victor to stop working, he's not going to do it. Some people are workaholics, and if you tell them to stop working, that's what truly hurts them. The work doesn't hurt them. So Victor and Jayce's entire relationship was pretty amazing. I'm really glad that Victor did not like die in the first season. I think he didn't, or did he at the end? I don't recall. I like binged the show. This is why I don't binge shows, because like half of the things slip out of my head. Then Powder came in, and Powder like attacked the council right when they decided not to attack the Undercity. Like, wow, the irony. I think Powder's decision made sense because she lost her first parents. She knows that she is the reason why Wanda, Milo, and even Vi, because that's what both Silco and Powder believed, that Vi was dead. So she blamed herself for that, and now she just killed her third father figure. Imagine being lucky enough to get 3 amazing fathers and to lose all of them. Some of us don't even get one. So I think when she just like went ahead and blew up the council building, I think that was a very understandable decision. But it also hurts me because now Powder stands for what Silco stood for. And also raises the question where this puts Vi. Is she going to stick with the Undercity and she's going to fight Piltover, or she's going to not fight at all? Because if she fights through the Undercity side, that means that she's fighting for Silco's cause, because Wanda did not want a war, and he made that abundantly clear. And I think Wanda's conversation with Vi was so amazing. He was like, okay, we are brave, we can fight, but who are you ready to lose? Are you ready to lose Powder? Are you ready to lose me? And I have written about that. I have written about literally everything. What topic have I not covered? So basically the minister goes to the king and he's like, why are we not fighting? Why are we sitting here like cowards? And the king says that we are safe in this fortress. We are not cowards to be sitting here. We are protecting our own people. If we go out there and fight, we might win, but so many people will lose their sons, their fathers, their brothers, their husbands. And I'm not ready to do that. While this fortress is defending us, we don't need to go out there and fight. So Wanda's whole explanation made so much sense, because he parented the kids who lost their parents, and he was probably friends with those people. So it made a lot of sense that he explained to Vi that I lost my friends, you lost your parents, you should not be willing for war. Wars might be cool, I don't know, I've never been in one, but they look cool on TV. But in reality, we just like called it like, we're like fun, it's fun for us. We're like, oh, 54,000 people died. But when you think about it, you're like 54,000 families were ruined. And it's insane, 54,000. I don't even know what that many people look like. So if Vi fights for Silco's cause, I would not be appreciative of that. And that also raises the question, will Powder fight? Who is going to fight? Like, Powder just went ahead and announced war and no one's ready. They don't even have their supply of shimmer anymore. Oh my god, season 2 is going to be amazing. Another thing that I really enjoyed about the series was the fights. Because even though Vi was the main character and Caitlyn and all, they were the main characters, and yet I really enjoyed the fact that the fights were fair. That when Vi was fighting Silco's personal guard, whoever that lady might be, she was fighting her and the fight was really fair. Vi was just as hurt as her, and I think that just makes it so unpredictable. I mean, I did know that Vi is not dying and Powder might not die and Jayce might survive, but it still added this element of fun to the whole thing. And there was like no final battle, and like they plan on continuing the series. It's so good. I love it. So, and Silco's death, I have heard that it hurt a lot of people, but it did not hurt me. I am a strong Wanda fan, and Wanda is dead because of Silco. So when Silco died, I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. Hate me for it, but I'm like a strong Wanda fan. So overall, Arcane is one of the most beautifully written, edited series ever, and the music is just out of this world. Everybody wants to be my enemy. Like, Imagine Dragons is just absolutely amazing, and every single song, the beginning, the end, I always skip through intros, but this one intro, I just could not skip through it. The song was so good. And that's it. That was it for this video. Really hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, give me a like, also comment below and let me know your thoughts. Did you guys enjoy Arcane as much as I did? And I cannot wait for more of it. It's so good. I mean, I'm like so impressed by Netflix. I mean, they are literally releasing something new every single day, and everything is like a good production. Nothing seems like cheap or rushed, and most of the stories are pretty good. I mean, Riverdale, I've heard that it's like the worst thing ever, but I've not watched it, so I won't judge. But I think most of the things that they release and the pace they are releasing things at is absolutely amazing. So, but they do take a long time to give us seasons for things. Like Bridgerton, it's like taking forever to arrive, and Emily in Paris is taking forever to arrive, and The Witcher season 2 is not here yet. It's coming in December, but so that's good. Anyway, let me know your favorite shows on Netflix, and yeah, that's it. Make sure to subscribe, click the notification bell. Also check out my edits channel, as I told you guys to do before. It's at @LNFEdits, and my Instagram is at @LNF_Fox. Make sure to go and follow me. I would really appreciate if I hit 200 followers there, so please do that. And yeah, that's it. I'm the only fox in this world, and it is day three of me wearing my father's shirts, and I feel like I have ruined the entire ironing of this, so I hope my father won't notice. I mean, he usually does not notice stuff like this, so I think I'm safe. Bye!
Baby, please just tell me if I'm